Hello everyone, this is Showtime 112. We're back with part 5 of our series on one of World War II's most criticized fighters, the Brewster Buffalo, and its role in the Malayan Campaign. The Buffalo was the primary fighter used by the RAF and Commonwealth forces in this theater, and it's often seen as a symbol of British failure in Malaya. But as we've shown in previous episodes, there were many other factors at play. If you missed those, you will find links in the video description. When we last left off, it was December 19, 1941. After trying to halt the Japanese advance from the Ipoh airfield, Buffalo pilots received the order to retreat further south. The main effort shifted to Kuala Lumpur, where the remaining aircraft and pilots regrouped. Other bases already abandoned by the RAF quickly fell into Japanese hands. While the evacuation of Ipoh was organized, mistakes from earlier in the campaign were repeated at Sungai Petani, Butterworth, and Taiping. Once again, the Japanese found intact stores of fuel and bombs, jokingly nicknaming these captured bases Churchill aerodromes. Kuala Lumpur airfield, originally the home of the local flying club, had only a single runway and no dispersal areas. All aircraft were forced to stay near the runway, making them easy targets for Japanese attacks. While an operations room and warning system were being set up, neither was ready in time. The Japanese wasted no time targeting Kuala Lumpur. The first raid hit on December 21st, right after the Buffalo morning patrol landed. 14 Ki-51 and Ki-48 bombers, escorted by a dozen Ki-43s from the 59th Sentai, attacked, but caused little damage. But the next attack came quickly. This time, two Buffaloes from RAF 453 Squadron scrambled in time. Sergeant Eric Peterson took off first, followed by Sergeant Ross Leys. As they climbed to about 800 feet, they spotted three aircraft Leys described as Japanese Stukas. He watched as Peterson turned to engage. Leys kept climbing, expecting more enemy planes to appear. At 4,000 feet, Leys spotted a formation of Japanese fighters below. He identified them as Navy Zeros and soon found himself completely surrounded, attacked from every direction. His Buffalo was hit repeatedly and flames and smoke began pouring from the engine. Realizing he had no choice, Leys bailed out, but not without difficulty. First, his pistol holster snagged on the canopy, and then, as he parachuted down, Japanese pilots tried to shoot him out of the sky. Luckily, their aim was off this time and Leys landed safely. In reality, the Japanese fighters weren't Zeros but Ki-43 Oscars. They claimed to have shot down 4 Buffaloes, but it's clear they were all firing at Leys' single aircraft. Among the pilots credited with a kill was future 14 Victory ace Hiroshi Onozaki. While the Japanese were busy overclaiming Leys' Buffalo, Sergeant Peterson managed to shoot down 1 bomber and claim 2 probable kills. The supposed Japanese Stukas were actually Ki-51 Sonyas. By evening, more replacement Buffaloes arrived from Singapore. Up to this point, Buffalo pilots flew in small groups, always outnumbered. But on December 22nd at 10 a.m., the entire 453 Squadron, a dozen Buffaloes, took off from Kuala Lumpur led by Flight Lieutenant Vanderfield. Climbing to 7,000 feet, they spotted the enemy. Despite launching their largest group yet, the Buffaloes were again outnumbered. The squadron diary notes they first encountered Navy Zeros. A dogfight broke out, and then another dozen Japanese aircraft appeared, identified as Zeros and Messerschmitt 109s. The battle quickly turned chaotic, and the Buffalo formation was scattered. Other types, including Ki-27 fighters and Ki-48 and Ki-51 bombers, were also reported in the fight. Sergeant Harry Griffiths recalled seeing 20 enemy aircraft, announcing he was going to attack, only to be told by squadron leader Harper on the ground that once he was finished with those, there were 20 more flying above the first group. Griffiths claimed 2 shoot-downs, possibly Ki-27s. He fired a burst at one that appeared in front of him, saw it catch fire and spin down. Then he saw another Japanese fighter chasing a Buffalo, probably flown by Sergeant O'Mara. Griffiths fired a deflection shot, hit the enemy, and watched it roll over and dive to the ground. But his own Buffalo was hit immediately after. Two enemy aircraft kept firing until they ran out of ammo. Fuel spilled from a ruptured tank, but miraculously didn't ignite. Griffiths tried to lead them into the airfield anti-aircraft fire, but they broke off. The gunners, mistaking Griffiths for an enemy, opened fire on him as well, but he landed safely, wounded, with 70 holes in his Buffalo. As Griffiths made his way back across the field, he saw another Buffalo coming in too low. It clipped an embankment and crashed. Rushing to the aid post, Griffiths found no one, so he tracked down a medical officer and had to threaten him to get help for the downed pilot, Pilot Officer Bob Drury, who sadly died of his wounds in hospital. The Buffalo's main opponents in this battle were 18 Ki-43 Oscars from the 64th Sentai, led by Major Tateo Kato. 6 Oscars under Lieutenant Tadao Takayama engaged first. Takayama dove on the Buffaloes, reportedly shooting down 3. His Oscar was allegedly hit by anti-aircraft fire at the start of the battle, and later, both his and a Buffalo flown by Sergeant Mac Reed were seen to explode, likely from a collision as Takayama tried to pull out of a dive, possibly due to a structural failure. Wrinkles and cracks were later found in 6 Ki-43s after the fight. The incident was later depicted as a ramming attack in the 1944 propaganda film Kato Hayabusa Sentotai. Indian soldiers later found Takayama's wrecked Oscar with heavy machine gun holes in the tail, suggesting he was damaged in combat with the Buffaloes. Besides Takayama, credits went to First Lieutenants Yohei Hinoki and Shogo Takeuchi, and Sergeants Yoshito Yasuda and Biyoshi Watanabe. One of the downed pilots was Sergeant Scrimgeour, who bailed out at 10,000 feet over the airfield after a head-on attack with what he thought was a Zero. His Buffalo caught fire, and as he descended, he was fired upon but managed to steer his parachute away from danger. landing safely but suffering burns to his hands and face after losing his goggles and not wearing gloves. The battle lasted about half an hour before the Ki-43s disengaged due to low fuel. The exact moment is unclear. Japanese bombers also joined in, and some were attacked by buffaloes. Sergeant Greg Board described diving almost vertically on a Mitsubishi bomber, likely a Ki-48, firing until it broke apart and tumbled to earth. Board was credited with the kill. He then spotted a Zero below, but as he prepared to attack, his Buffalo was hit and caught fire. He tried to escape by diving, but had to bail out, landing uninjured in the jungle. Sergeant Clare also claimed Japanese bombers, 2 dive bombers and 1 twin-engine aircraft, though he was credited with just 1 Ki-51. 4 more pilots received probable kills, including Flight Lieutenant Vanderfield, who claimed a Messerschmitt 109 F-type and a Type 97 fighter. In addition to Takayama's wreck, 2 more Japanese aircraft were found. One was burned out, its pilot identified as Major Numo, possibly a Ki-51 downed by Sergeant Clare. Another Rex pilot was reportedly alive, asking his captors to shoot him. The final loss of the day was Sergeant Peterson, who earlier claimed the Ki-51 and 2 probables. Around 3:30 p.m., as the Buffaloes were taxiing for takeoff, 4 Ki-43s from the 59th Sentai swooped in and strafed them. All pilots except Peterson jumped out and took cover. Peterson managed to get airborne, but was shot down and killed. The battle marked the end of Buffalo operations from Malaya. The 7 surviving pilots and 3 remaining operational Buffaloes of 453 Squadron withdrew to Singapore. Like so many airfields before, Kuala Lumpur was evacuated. In just over 2 weeks, the RAF was driven from mainland Malaya and would continue the fight from Singapore. During this period, Buffalo pilots were credited with destroying 16 enemy aircraft, but 8 Buffalo pilots lost their lives. Despite its many problems, the Buffalo wasn't solely to blame for the loss of Malaya. A better aircraft likely wouldn't have changed the outcome. Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments what you thought of the series, and as always, keep watching Showtime 112.